Since 2015, Jared Stillman has rocked Nashville sports.
That team freaking stinks.
And now he's back. The takes are hotter than ever.
I mean, let's be honest, he just can't coach.
Welcome to Stillman and Company.
Stillman and Company of the 440 Sports Network, presented by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical, here on what is kind of like a post-game show. I mean, the starters are done. It's halftime. The Titans are up 13-7. I don't give a rat's ass who wins or loses as we record this show today. And I'm just, honestly, I'm kind of laughing. I've been just going through the chat. The chat is already loaded. A lot of you people are already locked and loaded and want to get in on this. So, this is going to be our Friday show, our reaction right here to what we saw out of the Titans starters on both offense and defense. First, though, I must tell you about our presenting sponsor. That is Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. I said today that I called Hiller out to the house today. They had to come out. They had to fix a toilet that apparently somebody, we would find out, was putting baby wipes in. And I know it wasn't me. Not accusing Lindsay of being the one to do that. Maybe it was Jack. I don't know. But Hiller came right out to the home. Boom, they're done. I actually enjoy paying Hiller because they come into the home, they tell you what they're going to do, they do it, they tell you how much it's going to cost, and then boom, they're gone and everything's fixed. And that's why I absolutely love Hiller. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. They take great care of my home. Proud presenting sponsors of the Preds, the Vols, and Vandy. That's Hiller. Call the Happy Face Truck today. So where do you guys want to start? Okay, let me say this. You won't believe me when I say this because I know that you guys think that I hate Cam Ward and you guys think that I think Cam Ward is no good. And look, I thought Cam Ward was going to be a bust. I thought he was overdrafted. I thought this was the wrong situation last year for him to be brought into. I'm not totally sold on the situation this year. I did not see the improvement in OTAs, which led me to say, I think he's going to be a bust. And then everybody ran with that like it was some sort of, crazy ass lunatic take, because I want a quarterback who's drafted number 1 overall to be able to hit a running back out of the backfield and put it where it's supposed to go. Fucking crazy. I know. And so I was the big bad guy in town, but I didn't back down. And then I went to the training camp practices and I saw the interceptions the other day or, a week ago. And I said, okay, that doesn't look good, but he did have a nice night on Friday and they told me he was really good on Sunday and was a little bit back down to earth. But, I had to say this about Sunday's practice and even the joint practice when Suss, and I love Suss, but Suss came on and he was like, I don't think the offense was that bad. I don't think Cam was that bad. I don't think it was that bad, and so on and so forth. And I'm like, okay, well, they say that it wasn't. But I always know, I'm like, if I'm not there, if I don't see it, I'm like, because when Cam couldn't hit the broadside of a barn in OTAs, if I hadn't gone out to those OTA practices and I hadn't come back and said this guy couldn't hit the broadside of a barn, I don't even think it would have become a discussion. I think they would have said, yeah, Cam's learning the new offense. That's what's happening around here. Not, is this guy any good? So let's go over kind of the first half and we'll go drive by drive. And I kind of point out some of the things that drove me absolutely insane. And some of the things I liked. First drive, 49ers got the ball first. Can I just start before we get deep down? The Titans won the toss, and Robert Saleh elected to defer. And I saw that, and I thought, what the fuck, Robert Saleh? This isn't a regular season game. We at home want to watch the offense. We don't want to watch the defense. So why are you deferring so that Mitch Trubisky or Will Levis or Hendon Hooker, it's probably going to be Levis to start the third quarter, but I don't know. But so that they can get extra reps in here. So that's my first knock there. The 49ers moved down the field. Didn't really see much, bad, good, indifferent, whatever. They ended up, what ended up happening? They ended up kicking it to the Titans. No. It was, I want to say it was, they punted to the Titans. Nothing crazy there. Jermaine Johnson I think, when it comes to defense, I like Jermaine Johnson. I was optimistic this was going to work because he's a year removed from the Achilles tear, really almost 2 years at this point removed from the Achilles tear. He's played for Robert Saleh before. He knows what's expected of him. He's in a contract year. I was very optimistic this was going to work with Jermaine Johnson. I liked what I saw there. On the Femi Oladejo front, he had that nice play where he set the edge and he hit the guy in the backfield. Cody Barton. I can't stand Cody Barton, and I can't stand when people cap for Cody Barton. And while it would have come back because of a defensive hold anyways, he had a clean shot at Curtis Rourke and didn't take it or couldn't land it. Dude, you make way too much money to not be able to land a clear shot on the quarterback, especially when the quarterback is a third-string fucking bum. So that was my first take on defense. Then the Titans get the ball on their first drive, and they run the ball. That's fine. They run the ball. That's fine. They run the ball. Cam runs the ball, which, I mean, look, I've said this about Cam. He's not very athletic. Like, he's not athleticism. He's not a plus athlete. He never was. He never will be, and that's okay if he can be a good quarterback from the pocket. But he tries to take off against a backup linebacker, and the backup linebacker ends up catching him. So then on 3rd and 3, this was a play where I would say a little giddy, where Cam just pitches and catches, just very easy, just dumps it right over to Ridley, and Ridley runs it up the sideline for 18 yards. First down. That got me excited. The running plays where Spears and Pollard were out there doing their thing, I don't know why I don't get excited when the running game is performing against the 49er backups, but I get more excited when the passing game is performing well against the 49er backups. So I love that little 18-yard pitch and catch. Then Cam throws one, freaking trying to throw the ball to Wan'Dale Robinson 5 yards to the left, and he ends up sailing the shit. And then they end up running the screen to Gunnar Helm, which was a good play call and well executed, but again, it's a screen. Then they run the ball where Spears gets hit and he bounces it outside. Good effort by Spears, but again, none of these guys are NFL players. Like Garrett Wallow is one of the guys making a lot of the tackles out there for the Niners. That was the 53rd man on the Titans in 2023. So Spears bounces it outside, not bad. Then Cam tries to kind of hit Carnell Tate in the corner of the end zone. DB made a nice play. DB came over, knocked the ball down. Not going to put that one on Cam. And then Pollard ran the ball up the middle for a touchdown. And Lindsay was watching the game, and she was all excited. And she was like borderline cheering. She was like, yes, they scored, Jared. And I'm like, I know, but I want to see them throw the ball. I don't want to see the – what do I give a shit if they run the ball against the 49er third stringers? That said, they did move the ball down the field, and the right guard, who's a rookie, the right guard, held his own. Then after that, it all went to shit. Whether it was the defense with Cordell Flop, F-L-O-P. I remember the day the Titans signed Cordell Flott. I had never heard of Cordell Flott. And I feel like I follow the league pretty closely. I mean, this is my job after all. Like, again, I'm doing national radio tomorrow morning. I did national radio today. Had a sit down with Gino Auriemma. So it is kind of my job to follow the NFL. And I didn't know who Cordell Flott was. And I remember a bunch of the Titan scribes were like, you don't know who Cordell Flott is. And I'm like, I don't know. He's like 93rd on PFF's list. I've never heard of the guy. He started for the Giants last year. Whoop-de-fucking-do. The Giants suck. This guy fucking stinks. Like, I'm just going to tell you right now, he fucking stinks. And he was getting abused out there. And it started when Curtis Rourke, who is a third-string quarterback, Curtis Rourke fires a ball down the sideline, which is a better pass than Cam threw all night, which should tell you something. But Curtis Rourke fires a ball down the sideline, and he hits Deshaun Stribling. And remember, Stribling was the guy that the 49ers took in the second round, who when they took him, everybody was like, who? And this Stribling is not bad. But they throw the ball right down the sideline, and they complete the ball to Stribling, a bomb, and Cordell Flott gets up, and he does the incomplete motion like an idiot. And I thought, oh, boy. Then he got the penalty, which led to the 49er touchdown. And, I mean, they went at him whenever they wanted to go at him. They treated him the way Tom Brady used to treat Tony Beckham back in the day. He got the Deron Jenkins treatment, and he's making something like 14, 17 million bucks this year. Terrible, 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 terrible. And then Marcus Harris. You know, everybody's told me that, hey, Marcus Harris, he's going to be the nickel. And I'm like, did he do anything last year? And they're like, well, you know, he played a couple games last year, and he wasn't that bad. But in Robert Saleh's defense, Jared, you will see. Here's what I saw out of the big nickel in Marcus Harris. I saw Stribling catch the ball, and I watched Stribling little brother Marcus Harris's ass and just push him backwards and end up cutting it up the field to set up a 1st and goal. Now, I do think Stribling stepped out of bounds on that play, but Marcus Harris, you got to push him out of bounds. I mean, just inexcusable. So the defense was atrocious. It would have been nice if they had gotten some pass rush. They didn't really. And again, these are the 49er backups. So give me a freaking break. Then the Titans get the ball back, and Cam goes back out there. And Cam, you know, has a nice little strike to Wan'Dale Robinson. And then I don't know what to say on this intentional grounding penalty. So the offense had moved the ball down the field for a touchdown. The offense moves the ball, gets a 1st down on the second drive. And then what, Cam just thought he could sit back there in the pocket and just pat the football for 25 seconds. And then when he sees somebody coming, he's like, oh, well, now I'm going to try to throw it away. I'm just going to back up. I'm 6'1". I'm just going to try to back up and just kind of launch it away, propel it away. He's lucky that wasn't a fumble. He's lucky that wasn't called a fumble and that the 49ers didn't have somebody there pick it up, run it in the end zone for a touchdown. And while, look, you could say, well, he's lucky this didn't happen, that didn't happen. What I'm telling you right now is that once the ball's out of his hands, he's completely out of control of it. And that's the kind of play that could be ruled a fumble. And again, if the 49ers have somebody there, that could be picked up and run into the end zone for a touchdown. And once Cam pulled that bullshit, he was not the same quarterback. I know people say, hey, the Cam Ward, he makes mistakes and he just moves on. He was not the same quarterback tonight after that stupid horse shit. So that kind of set up the punt on that drive. Then the Titans get the ball back. I could not believe this. Incomplete to Carnell Tate. Incomplete to Alec Iomanor. Alec Iomanor was wide open. Cam just shot it high. Oh, good. Trubisky's got his pads off, so we're going to see Will Levis out here. Cam gets sacked, but he gets bailed out. Dan Moore-Skaronski on a stunt. They get bailed out by a defensive holding call, which I didn't even think was a very good defensive holding call. Incomplete to Robinson. Incomplete to Tate on a ball that he put it on his hands. It's not hard, Cam. This is the NFL. That ball needs to be completed. And, then they end up punting the ball. I mean, just not good. And so I put up a poll, and I put up a poll on Twitter, and the poll's up there. You tell me what you think. I am pulling the Corey Curtis on this with the poll. And the poll says, what grade do you give Cam Ward for his performance tonight? Now, there's only 4 options to choose from, so I went A, C, D, and F, because there is no way you could give Cam Ward a B. If you give Cam Ward an A, then you are the definition of a Cam boy. You are the kind of person who, again, I used to joke about Poo-Poo Johnson. You're the kind of person that the Titans could sign Poo-Poo Johnson. And when they signed Poo-Poo Johnson, you would convince yourself and then try to convince me that Poo-Poo Johnson didn't stink. And so when it comes to Cam Ward, if you give him an A, that tells me all I need to know about you. Can't give him a B. We will keep you updated as the program today continues on. We will keep you updated as far as the poll is concerned. Again, I wrote some notes here as the Titans have the ball right now to start the third quarter. Will Levis is in at quarterback. I'm sure everybody is eagerly awaiting with bated breath for Will Levis to do something stupid. And on the first play, he carries it like he's Mike Allstott. Number one, let's start with this. I tried to tell you people about Cam, and you know it. You know I tried to tell you. When I went out there to OTAs and I saw the quarterback that couldn't hit the broadside of a barn, I didn't make that up. And what I realized and what I have realized with this whole Cam thing over really the last 10 months, because it was really about midway through the season when everything was going to shit and the offseason and everything else, which is, I think deep down inside, the reason Titan fans get so worked up and get so bent out of shape when it comes to any sort of criticism about Cam Ward is because deep down inside, they're afraid it's true. Deep down inside, they fear that the Titans picked the wrong year to stink, hired the wrong guy to be general manager, had the wrong guy who was general manager get carried away about a prospect that really wasn't that good and certainly isn't that talented, and now we're stuck with him. So now we're going to have to go through last season, which was a train wreck, this upcoming season, which if he's not better than he was today, is going to be a train wreck, and then next year they'll bring somebody in for competition, but who are you going to bring in when you've got the number one pick? You know, and that's the hard part here. Is it's one thing when it's a first rounder. Anthony Richardson was a first rounder. He was 4. J.J. McCarthy was a first rounder. He was 10. And so you can ditch that guy after year 2, apparently. But can you ditch number 1 when you're moving into a new stadium and you've tried to convince your fan base that he's Mahomes and all that nonsense? Can you do that? And honestly, I don't know. Because what I've learned with Cam is that what happens on the field doesn't matter. Just like right now, the frustration that Titan fans feel, the fear Titan fans have in their hearts that Cam may not be the guy, by this time tomorrow night, I don't know what the narrative is going to be. I don't know what the party line is going to be. I don't know what the sunshine pumping is going to be. But I guarantee you, 104.5 will have the memo tomorrow, and you will hear why it really wasn't that bad of a day for Cam, even though his last pass was a ball that should have been intercepted, that he tried to throw to the 49er backup who just didn't pick it off. And by the way, if that's Fred Warner out there, that ball gets intercepted. And I'm not saying that tonight proves Cam's a bust. I'm not saying that. I don't want this to be taken out of context. I don't want people to get all worked up about it. I really do want to be fair here. But this is what I told you I was seeing at OTAs. And this is what everybody in the local media got on my ass for, saying, oh, Jared, it's only May. I'm not going to get worked up about shorts and T-shirts in May. You mean the quarterback can't put the ball where it's supposed to go? The number 1 pick at quarterback cannot put the ball where it is supposed to go, and you don't think that's a problem. So that's the first thing. I tried to tell you guys, and I am fascinated what the narrative is going to be. Now, I don't want to try to convince anybody to vote a certain way in my poll. That's not my game. I'll let you guys vote in the poll however you want to vote. But the accuracy was a concern. The missed throw to Wan'Dale Robinson in the backfield, pure accuracy. The missed throw to Alec I.O. Manor, pure accuracy. Throw out there on an outbreaking route to Carnell Tate where once again he threw it wide of him. Cam, that ball's got to be on his hands. Accuracy. I don't care about completion percentage. Some passes are going to be low completion throws. Some passes are going to be high completion throws. Like when you're throwing a screen pass to the tight end who's standing right there, that should be a completion. So I don't care about the completion percentage, but I care about, again, standard accuracy in the NFL. Could Mac Jones make some of those throws? Could Curtis Rourke make some of those throws that Cam missed today? And I think the answer is yes. So I told you guys this was an issue. The second part of this is I am fascinated to see what the Homer narrative is going to be tomorrow. I am fascinated to see how they're going to talk themselves into, Cam Ward was good today. They're not doing it now. But I bet you within 15 hours, there will be talk about how Cam Ward was not bad tonight. That's what it's going to be. It's not going to be Cam was good. It's going to be Cam Ward wasn't that bad. You guys watch. That's the first thing. Number two, what happened after the first drive? So the first drive, they marched right down the field. And again, maybe I'm a hypocrite. I don't know. But it drove me crazy when I would see them run it up the middle and gain 23 yards with Tajay Spears, or run it up the middle with Pollard and gain 12, or run it up the middle and gain however many. Because there's a part of me that's like, these are backup defensive linemen, and you are playing starting offensive linemen. You are playing a $25 million left tackle, a $25 million left guard, the seventh pick in the draft at right tackle, and again, they think Austin Schlottman's a starting center. You should be mauling those guys. There are a bunch of nobodies out there for the 49ers. But then I did care about how the passing game looked. So then I kind of feel like a hypocrite, right? I'm not first drive. Great job running the ball. But maybe I should say that. Great job running the ball. But what happened after that first drive? It's not like the 49ers, bucked up and said, all right, Bosa, Warner, you're in. They had their backups out there, or their third stringers out there. I'm guessing third stringers because Mac Jones is their backup and he didn't play. And yet, after that first drive, the Titans starting offense, they didn't really do anything. And again, I know they tell me that Cam can make a boatload of mistakes and he comes right back out there like it's nothing, which was a problem for Levis and it was a problem for Marcus Mariota. It wasn't as much of a problem for Ryan Tannehill until it became the Bengal game. And then after that, I think Tannehill kind of got back to being Tannehill, where he would make mistakes and he could bounce back from it. Tannehill's probably the best at it as far as the Titans are concerned, of making a mistake and truly moving on. Cam had that terrible intentional grounding, which again could have been a fumble. Cam had the terrible intentional grounding, and he wasn't the same after that. And so, again, when it comes to the offense, this, I think, would be the question. If I was in the press conference today with Robert Saleh, this would be the question that I would have for Saleh, which is, so what happened after the first drive? Why did the offense stall so poorly after the first drive? Number 3 on my list is Robert Saleh, WTF. That's just me being upset about the fact that Robert Saleh decided to defer the opening kickoff. I mean, we've been sitting here since January waiting for Titan football. And if we're being honest, we've really been sitting here since September of last year, because we knew after week 3 when Indianapolis came in and oh my God, who was that just fumbled the ball? Who is 39 Jackson out there returning punts? Whatever, he sucks anyway. I don't even know who that is. So, muffed the punt. Too funny. And then he walks off the field. He's like, fuck. As he walks off the field, dude, you weren't going to make the team anyways. Jim DK's got that spot. Don't worry about it. I also kind of hate, and I get it, it's the preseason, but I kind of hate when they give reps to guys that will never, ever, ever, ever return a punt for the Tennessee Titans in a game, which gets me every time. But again, Robert Saleh, we didn't wait all those months to watch the defense go out there against Curtis Rourke. What are we doing deferring in a preseason game? Take the ball. In the other 2 games, you're going to have some fans there. I don't know how many fans are going to go to home preseason games, but when the fans show up, take the ball. I don't want to see you get the ball to begin the second half. In a real game, do whatever you want. I prefer to defer, but this ain't a real game. Take the ball. That pissed me off, so I put that on the list. Cordell Flott. Again, I had never heard of Cordell Flott when the Titans signed him. And I talked to some of my friends, people I work with at Sirius that are big Giant fans. And I was like, who the hell is Cordell Flott? And they're like, oh, yeah, no, he's not that bad. And I'm like, for the money that they gave him, 30-something guaranteed, I think it averages like 14 a year, but I think it's like 17 or 19 or something in the first year. He needs to not just be better than not bad. Whoa, he was freaking awful. Just awful out there. And that needs to be another question of Robert Saleh, which is, how in the hell did you guys sign this guy to play corner? And he's getting worked by the 49ers third-string quarterback. I mean, I was kind of bummed. I put Robert Saleh, what the fuck? I was kind of mad at Kyle Shanahan when I saw Curtis Rourke run out there to start the game, because I wanted to see Mac Jones, who I think might be a good call to be the Titans starting quarterback at the new stadium to begin 2027. And then I put on the list Carmona, not bad. I was kind of interested in this Carmona thing because I figured I don't really believe in competition in training camp. I know every year people hype it up and they always say things like, keeping a look at the training camp battle. But I just don't feel like training camp really affords teams the ability to actually have training camp battles anymore. And there's just not enough practices. There's not enough padded practices. There's not enough preseason games. They don't play enough in the preseason games to really be able to determine those things. So unless somebody is just absolute fucking Dylan Radins level garbage, then there's really no way to know if you are winning the starting job or not. And you got to get your guys ready for week one. Like, I know the Titans' focus right now is on the Titans, and it'll probably be on the Titans' focus next week. But then after that, we got to start talking about getting ready for the Jets, because you need to win that game. And right now with Cordell Flott, it ain't looking very good. With Cam Ward being unable to hit the broadside of a barn, it ain't looking very good. Good Lord, Will Levis has overshot Xavier Restrepo. Thought he was Wembanyama out there. Jesus. The Titans have 80 passing yards with 10 minutes to go in the third quarter of a preseason game in which San Francisco did not play a single starter. Boy. Oh, boy. And Levis just got absolutely clocked, thanks in large part to Austin Deculus, who is, by the way, I've seen enough of him at trade. He's terrible. But again, like, there's not enough time for a competition. So this Carmona, who they're giving reps to, I think it's like they know what, or they think they know what Cordell Volson is. So let's try Carmona out there. I actually put in my notes. I said, Carmona, not that bad. They were doing a lot of running to the right. They threw the screen to Gunnar Helm to the right, and Carmona got out there on that screen. Not bad. I can roll with a 5th round rookie as a starting right guard if he earns the job and is not somebody that you just draft in the 5th round and say, we're going to start him because we drafted him. And I don't think they've done that. So I think this is a good thing. And then the last thing was I put Joey Sly. Good after bad. So he makes the first PAT, and Lindsay was watching kind of the very beginning of the game with me, and I turned to her and I said, this guy right here, Joey Sly, he's kicking for his job tonight because he has stunk in the practices and he stunk in the scrimmage on Friday, so he's kicking for his job. Then he kicks the ball out of bounds, and I thought, but then he hit 2 field goals, including a 55-yarder at the end of the half. Good. So he was good after he was bad. And I was just watching that last drive that Levis had. It was his second drive. And Robbie Stanley texted me and said he's absolutely awful. It's not looking good for Levis. Again, he just tried to throw a ball to Xavier Restrepo. and thought that he was Shaquille O'Neal. For whatever that's worth. All right. Maddie says and everybody is already subscribed. Keep subscribing, but everybody like it. Give us as many likes as possible. Get in the algorithm. I want this reaction, so that when people wake up tomorrow morning, if you're not watching live, which if you're hearing this on Friday morning, when people, I want people going to work to be like, okay, here's the Jared podcast from yesterday. I want people on their way home. Here's the Jared podcast. Just get it up there in the morning, which I think we like. Oh, man. This one here might be it. KC says, it's a fucking preseason game. Everyone in here forgetting about Jamar Chase's preseason, his rookie year. It's been a while.
The Cam Ward excuse of the day.
That one I think may take the cake. The Cam Ward excuse of the day. Jamar Chase's rookie year. I think they said at the beginning of training camp, Jamar Chase is having a trouble, dropping the football, and then he figured it out probably by the time they were playing games. Cam Ward is in his second season, guys. He's not a rookie anymore. That's what pissed me off so badly about that intentional grounding, which, again, I think very easily could have been a fumble. And, again, I know the ball went out of bounds, so if it was a fumble, it really wouldn't have made much of a difference compared to the grounding. But once that ball's, once the ball starts bouncing like that, it could go anywhere. That ball could go to a 49er defender who could run that into the end zone for a touchdown. And then we're talking about Will Levis 2.0. If that's what Ward ended up doing. And what infuriated me about that was, dude, you ain't a rookie anymore. That is something that, again, if this was your first preseason game, if you were the number one pick that I unretired Warren Moon's jersey for, then I wouldn't be happy about it. But I'd say, okay, it's his first game ever. We'll get those jitters out and see what happens. But this is year two. This is year two for the young quarterback. One person says, Cam looked like Ricky the Wild Thing Vaughn. Ball 4, ball 8, ball 12. Yeah. That's what I kept saying about Cam and his mechanics. And it is that Cam can develop some passes. He can zip it in there sometimes. Just freaking put it on a rope, put it right on the guy's hands. He had a throw to Wan'Dale Robinson. He just snapped it, and Robinson caught it and cut it up for a big game. And he has some plays where he can run around and he can dance in the backfield and he can chuck it and he can throw it across the other hash and he can hit a guy wide open and he can run with it. And you see that play and you're like, holy shit. Like 3 guys on the planet can do that. But because his mechanics are so weak and inconsistent, he cannot put the ball where it's supposed to go consistently, which is the biggest problem I have with him as a quarterback. And again, not that Bill Belichick is the greatest quarterback whisperer in the world. I think we all know deep down inside he got a little lucky, and he had Charlie Weiss, who was a Bill Parcells guy, as his offensive coordinator. And then once, Brady left, it all went to shit. So we all know that. But Bill Belichick used to say, you want a quarterback? The hallmark, decision-making, accuracy. The decision-making today from Cam, not very good. The accuracy tonight from Cam, not very good. That right there is kind of an issue. Oh, here's another one. Oh, the sky is falling. It's 12 passes in the preseason with new receivers.
The Cam Ward excuse of the day.
Again, we just want to keep pushing it out. So last year it was, it's early, he's a rookie. And then Callahan got fired. So then everything became Callahan's fault. And the team was terrible. So it was everybody else's fault. So then they bring in quarterback whisperer Brian Dable. And they bring in the great Robert Saleh. And you'll see, Jared, you'll see. You will see. And with some of you people, you guys move the goalposts every single time the Titans will let you. And you move it even more than they do. I mean, I remember after Rand Carthon's second year when they went from 6 wins to 3 wins and they got the number 1 pick in the draft and they were absolute butthole out there on the field. And you guys are like, Rand needs more time. Just keep pushing it back. I mean, there's always tomorrow. Can always give a guy another chance. It's like how Vanderbilt basketball was with Kevin Stallings for all those years. Well, year 23, that'll be the difference. Cedric from the Borough says we need to focus on Flott too, guys. Not going to lie. Oh, and I know that he said that about 30 minutes ago. Flott. Again, Cordale Flop. One person says, did anyone listen to Ramon and Zarzer? That's a good question. I did not listen to Ramon and Zarzer. I watched the TV broadcast. A couple of years ago, they switched from Dan Hellie. I don't even know whatever happened to Dan Hellie, but they switched from him to Paul Burmeister, which I think was a great upgrade. Burmeister and Charles have a very pro-Titans broadcast, and Charles can get a little over the top sometimes when it comes to his praise for the Tennessee Titans as an organization and the players and the things that they do. I thought it was fine. I didn't mind listening to it. And, you know, Corey, of course, has the poll on the field. How many touchdowns is Cam going to throw? And I got to love Corey because he learned his lesson the hard way with me a couple years ago when he asked how many yards Will Levis was going to throw for. And he said that he thought 4,000 was a slam dunk. And boy, have I just rubbed his face in on that. So you know Corey's not going to touch it. Like, he's going to put the poll up there. And then he is not going to, you know, sit there and opine on it because he knows I'm going to crush him if he does that again. But it's like, you know, if we're going to do a poll, they kept it reasonable today. I don't have a problem with their poll. One person says, Cam running with the ball and almost getting his ankles twisted drove me crazy. I did think about that when he was running. Like, he was going to try to run away from the linebacker, and then the linebacker kind of caught him from behind. And it's like, man, if the second team linebacker is catching you from behind, maybe you're not going to be a kind of guy who's running away. Like, maybe running away is not gonna be your thing. One person says Cordale Flott equals Janoris Jenkins. I think Cordale Flott is a lot worse than Janoris Jenkins. I mean, I knew who Janoris Jenkins was when they saw. I had never heard of Cordale Flott, and then I had like the PFF big board because we were doing that live reaction free agent frenzy show. And I pulled up the board in front of me. And as I looked at the board, I'm like, where the fuck is this guy? And I just kept going down. And there were guys like Roger McCreary that were way ahead of him. And I think Roger McCreary signed for like $3 million, like a 1-year, $3 million contract. Look, I know it's one preseason game. Who would you rather have? McCreary or Cordale Flott? And I don't even need to ask you guys. I know the answer to that one. One person says we didn't even get to see Tate. We saw Tate. Cam threw it wide of him and on a ball that is not a difficult throw to complete. Not a difficult. When Cam threw that pass and he missed Carnell Tate, and they said on the TV broadcast, fans, you're going to see a lot of Carnell Tate now. I saw that, and I'm like, Cam, that is a ball an NFL quarterback completes. And I wasn't getting too worked up about it at the time, but there was a part of me that's like, hey, those little gimmies, those need to be consistent. Because, again, I can go to their team, and I can go get Mac Jones, and I can sign Mac Jones for $10 million and stick him in there and say, all right, Mac Jones, you're up, and he can make that throw. The throw to Io Manor, he can make. I mean, everybody shits on Mac Jones, and I think Mac Jones deserves a second chance. As a starting quarterback, I think he would have gotten it this year if it were not for the fact that Kyle Shanahan made him sign a 2-year deal because nobody else in the league wanted him. But, I mean, we shit on Mac Jones and laugh about it. He won 10 games as a rookie. At this rate, how many seasons is it going to take Cam to get to 10 wins? Maddie says Borgonzi shouldn't be allowed to sign free agents. He's too attracted to former players or coaches' buds. I do think there's a lot of that. Kevin says, Jared, I like to think you're overly pessimistic, but you're right. This team's going to be bad. Cam is not good, and there will be a competition at quarterback next season. You know it's bad. You know it's bad when a lot of you people have spent the entire offseason being like, Jared's a hater. Jared's just doing this for clicks. Jared's just stirring the pot. Jared's full of shit. Jared sucks. Jared, all these things. And then there's one preseason game. Jesus Christ, Levis just got trucked. Hold on, I'm going to rewind this one right here. And I know we all want to crap on Levis, but I got to see this because I don't think this was his fault. Let's see. Levis takes, oh my God. The free rusher, Deculus, the left tackle, doesn't pick it up because he sucks. Singleton, the back, does nothing in pass pro, and Levis just gets corked. That is not Will Levis's fault. Like that, I'm sorry. That one is not Will Levis's fault. This person says, you drunk? It's just the first preseason game. I am not. I have done this show freaking, I will say this. The night that Chad Brinker resigned, that's a flag. Thank you. The night that Chad Brinker had resigned, I had eaten a gummy. And Lindsay actually had her girlfriends over from work. And they were all upstairs, and I just looked at my phone, and I saw Chad Brinker steps down, and I was like, I think I need to go live. And so I was off in gummy land. I texted Caroline, and I was like, Caroline, I need you to watch the stream, and if I say something just batshit crazy, I need you to text me like, abort. And I remember doing that show because I've never done a show under the influence or anything like that. Like, I wouldn't even drink a beer and do a show because I'm so afraid of getting canceled. But now I think I can be a little bit more free. And I just remember staring into the light, like the light that, is on my face, just staring into the light. And I just kept talking about, I just kept thinking the next sentence at a time. And I thought it was a pretty good show. And I had a good time doing it. But I don't think that will be something that I continue over here. One person says, will they let Borgonzi pick the next quarterback? So here's what I'll say about Cam. If Cam sucks, and I think, sucks, and Kyler Murray at times can be synonymous, and I'm somebody who uses them synonymously, but Kyler Murray doesn't actually suck. Will Levis sucks. Kyler Murray is probably one of the best 32 quarterbacks in the NFL. And because Kyler Murray was one of the best 32 quarterbacks in the NFL, when he was young and he was quarterback number 26 or quarterback number 22 or whatever, Arizona, who had used the number 1 pick on him, they convinced themselves that he didn't suck, and they gave him all that money, which I thought was crazy at the time because I didn't think Kyler was that good. If Ward is not going to be the guy, then what they need to do is we need to hope that it's as terrible as everything in that first half after that first drive was tonight. Kind of like Levis in year 2. Because once that happens, then they'll have to do something about it. They won't talk themselves out of it. So if Cam is that bad, and I don't know that Cam's that bad, I'm worried he is, but if Cam does suck, then it's probably better than him being Kyler Murray or Tua, and you convincing yourself off of a couple of good games that he's actually that dude. Look, when we win ball games this year, please don't jump on the wagon. Then please don't keep saying the same thing you are saying now. Buddy, I'm just reacting to what we all saw. I'm just reacting to what we all watched in that first half, in which, again, the first thing on my notes is what happened after the first drive. Let's just be honest. Jared, he was the number 1 pick in the draft. Yeah, we expect better. Oh, man. This person says, Niners fans here, we think we are much better this year than last year. The starters, yes, but especially the depth. In the NFL, nobody's starters should be as good as anybody else's backups. Because you see, the Titans have a quarterback who they picked number 1 overall. Not that I would have picked Cam Ward number 1 overall, because I wouldn't have picked Cam Ward number 1 overall. But by having a quarterback that you picked number 1 overall, that means that you had that chance to draft that player before anybody else in the league did. And this year, you had the 4th pick. And the year before last year, you had the 7th pick. And so at some point, you should have better players than the 49er backups. Garrett Wallow, who was out there making a bunch of tackles in the first half for the 49ers, was Mr. 53 on the roster in 2023. He had a special teams penalty against the Texans that helped cost them the game when they lost to Case Keenum in the Oilers throwbacks. That essentially, I think, led to Mike Vrabel getting fired. Hey, Joey Sly made another kick. It looks like Joey Sly will survive another week. I still think he sucks, but it looks like he will survive another week for whatever that is worth. Jared in Spring Hill says, give me Stone Stilly all day. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to get in the habit of that. I think that would be bad. This person says he's not that bad, but showing tonight, but we can't throw a number 1 pick under the bus that quickly. Yeah. Adam from Portland. Good to hear from Adam. He said, sad thing about this is Levis looks too shitty to trade. I don't know how the team feels about Levis. And when I say the team, I'm talking about Amy. Excuse me. I don't know how Amy feels about Levis. Because remember, Amy really pumped Levis's tires when they fired Vrabel. And Bryce Wasserman, who's Amy's son-in-law, who is basically her ear inside the building, who wears the gloves and catches the passes. He's golfing buddies, best buddies with Levis. So I don't know if Amy's like, nah, we got to keep Will on the team. But I don't think Levis did himself any favors last year electing to have that surgery. So, because he would have played at points in the season last year, I think. It would have been a disaster with Cam stinking it up and Levis on the bench and people wanting to see Levis go in there, even though Levis was terrible the year before. They took Cam number 1. It would have been crazy, but that's how the Titans do business. But regardless, Levis could have played his way in the preseason last year to getting a trade the same way Malik Willis did the year before. I don't think there's any trade value for Will Levis. Austin Stanley, I feel like every day has an update on Will Levis's trade value. Like he's obsessed with the idea of trading Will Levis. Guys, I don't think anybody in the NFL really wanted Will Levis when he was coming out, which is why he didn't go in the first round, because teams were like, he's got the body of a first-round quarterback, and he can throw the ball well enough like a first-round quarterback, but he wasn't productive enough in college, and he kind of comes off as a douchebag. And so I don't know if we can have that at quarterback. And since then, Will Levis has got his shot in the NFL. He has failed miserably. He has quit on his team. He has had a sex tape released, and now he sucks. Like, who's bringing that in to be the backup? Maybe Jacksonville, where when Liam Cohn was the OC at Kentucky, he told me that, when Levis was coming out and Cohen was the OC at Kentucky, he was just pants off for Levis. Maybe he still is. So if you release Levis, then he brings him in to back up Lawrence. I don't know. But, Jude says Mendoza looked like the number 1 pick tonight. I didn't see Mendoza play. I watched the Titans. I don't know if you're joking or if you're saying, oh, yeah, no, Mendoza looked great. I love this one. 76 getting beat every snap. That is Deculus. So you can ask Suss and Gentry Estes and everybody. I've been going to them in practice like, this Deculus is fucking terrible. Jared in Spring Hill says, how will Robert Saleh respond to this tonight? You know what's funny? I don't know what the tenor of the questions is going to be like with Saleh after the game tonight. PK's not there. And we know PK can be a real dickhead. Jim Wyatt, and I say that like in almost PK can be a dickhead in a bad way, but he also can be a dickhead in a good way, if that makes any sense. PK's not there, which I do wonder why PK's not there. But PK's not there. I don't think you're going to get like an adversarial press conference. So I think you're going to hear Saleh talk about how Cam did a good job. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and write this down right now. I think Saleh will say Cam did a good job. Adam, I got to disagree with this one, and I know I'm in the minority on this. He said the new uniforms look dope. I just don't feel like I'm watching the Titans in those uniforms. Now, I think I'll get over it, but I thought about that. Oh, boy. I just saw the Jalen Harrell. Hopefully that's a cramp. Let's see. Hopefully it's a cramp. I just don't feel like I'm watching the Titans when I see these new uniforms. And I think I got up to pee after about maybe the second offensive drive or something. And I don't know about you guys, but I was having a thought as I was standing there peeing. I was like, am I hating on these new jerseys in my head because I'm just a hater? Or am I hating on them because they just don't feel right? And to me, they just don't feel right. One person says Joey secured the job tonight. Another person says Sly looks good. I don't know if I'd say he secured the job. I would say that Joey Sly has kept his job for another week. Like that he has taken his job for another week. One person says Jared had to mention the sex tape. Could have mentioned that man's turnovers. I did. I said he failed miserably when he got his chance to start in the NFL. Teams do not want backups causing problems. And not to say that when your sex tape gets leaked, that's your problem or it's not really a problem. It's kind of like today when I was on Sirius, we were talking about the Jaden Daniels stuff, which what a fucking loser that guy is. But, and I'm shocked by that because through 2 years, there was nothing about Jaden Daniels that made me think he was like that. And now I'm just like, but somebody called in to Sirius today and was like, this is going to affect him in the locker room. I'm like, no, it's not. There's not a single Washington Commander player that fucking cares about Jaden Daniels and his butthurt feelings towards LSU giving somebody else's number. And they could say it's about whatever, but it's about giving away the number. I don't think it really affected anybody here. Coaches, players, fans, whatever, the locker room about Levis' sex tape. But it did happen. And I mean, One person says Levis looks like Cam Scatterbo playing quarterback. Absolutely zero chill. Yes, but we already knew that. We already knew that Will Levis was a total meathead. When Mike Vrabel can't convince you to slide, and then you go out there and you ruin your shoulder, although I think it was probably overstated how much he hurt himself. He probably was using that as an excuse because I do think he's kind of a loser. But when you go out there and you hurt your shoulder because you won't slide and you're Mr. Tough Guy, and that's what stupid quarterbacks do. Take hits. One person said Jared's Piss Thoughts, a new segment. Just me on the uniforms. Oh, Witty. I haven't heard from Witty in a while, Witty Banner. It's good to hear from you with our
The Cam Ward Excuse of the Day.
I want to do this, okay? Cam Ward, and this is pure box score scouting. I have not really watched any of these other games. Cam Ward, 5 of 12. 57, average of 4.8 yards. And let's write down the quarterback rating. This will be the easiest way to do this. 56.6 for Cam. Now, let's compare this with other quarterbacks. Curtis Rourke had a quarterback rating of 96.7, and Curtis Rourke played with worse players and against better players. Curtis Rourke was 12 of 14 for 101. Cam was 5 of 12 for 57. And again, Rourke played against better players with worse players. I want you to think of that. Let's look at some of the other preseason games tonight. Again, I haven't watched these. Anthony Richardson, 11 of 14, 145, one interception and a quarterback rating of 80. And I did see the interception. Again, I'm not covering for Richardson here, but that wasn't his fault. Tommy DeVito, 13 of 22, 138, one touchdown, quarterback rating of 92. So again, Cam had a quarterback rating of 56. Curtis Rourke was in the 90s. Tommy DeVito was in the 90s. Anthony Richardson was in the 80s. Let's look at the Texans-Chargers. Let's see who played quarterback there. DJ Uiagalelei, 6 of 9, 120, a touchdown, a rating of 146.8. And I know DJ Uiagalelei sucks. Davis Mills, 9 of 15, 82 yards, one touchdown, quarterback rating of 97. Trey Lance, 12 of 20, 164, quarterback rating of 65. All of these people had higher ratings than Cam, more yards, more completions, more everything. Let's go to Arizona, Vegas. Let's see. Jacoby Brissett, 5 of 5, 44 yards, one touchdown, quarterback rating 142.9. Gardner Minshew, 14 of 16, 101, two touchdowns, quarterback rating 132.6. Fernando Mendoza, 10 of 16, 97, one touchdown, quarterback rating of 100.3. Kirk Cousins, 5 of 6, 50 yards, one touchdown, quarterback rating of 141. Here we go. Cam had a quarterback rating of 56.6. We have somebody who was worse than Cam. Aiden O'Connell of the Raiders, 4 of 13, very close to Cam's 5 of 12. 4 of 13 for 85 yards and no touchdowns. He had a quarterback rating of 55. So Aiden O'Connell, the third-string quarterback for the Raiders, is the first guy through 3 games that we have seen that is similar to Cam. Luke Altmaier, whoever the fuck that is, who wears number 20, that's not even a quarterback number. He wears number 20 for the Lions. He had a worse quarterback rating than Cam at 53.2. For Cincinnati, Joe Burrow, 5 of 6, 39, 93 rating. Joe Flacco, 5 of 8, 51 and a touch, 120 rating. You have to get all the way to Sean Clifford, 1 of 3 for 2 yards with a 42 rating that Cam was better than. And let's go to the last one, Green Bay, Pittsburgh. And let's see. Cam beat out Tyrod Taylor. Cam was 56.6, Tyrod Taylor 56.2. Jordan Love, 67.1. Kyle McCord, 91.1. Good Lord. Mason Rudolph, 10 of 11, 93, 101.9. Will Howard, 7 of 9, 86, 106.5. And Drew Aller, 10 of 13, 153, 2 touchdowns, and a quarterback rating of 154.8. That is a perfect quarterback rating for Drew Aller. Guys, Cam stunk. I mean, holy crap. That's so bad. That is so bad. Whew. But hey, maybe Robert Saleh will be asked about it tonight and he'll say it wasn't that bad. One person said he played for Troy State. Are you talking about Luke Altmaier? This guy is wearing number 20 at quarterback. I have never seen somebody play quarterback wearing a number 20. LF says, this is so depressing. An average showing I would have taken, but Ward was abysmal. Saleh better not coddle him in the postgame presser. Guarantee you Robert Saleh will coddle him in the postgame press conference. Guarantee it. Guarantee you he'll talk about how, well, we really learned some things. It'll be good. Maddie's right. Sunshine pumping will be on full display with Salah. Agreed. All right. Let's get through some of the chat things that I started from earlier today. So these are going to be earlier things that came in here. Kelsey says, oh my God, Cam, he's too short. Can't see the field or the defenders, has no touch on the ball. Terrible footwork and looks, dare I say, scared out there. Just saying. I will say this for everybody out there that really tried to lecture us about how Cam is a super tough guy and he's a leader and he's a winner and he's all these things. Cam was not the same tonight after that horseshit intentional grounding that I don't know what he was thinking. But he was not the same quarterback tonight after that happened. Not that he was really all that good on the first drive. You know, a little pitch and catch to Ridley, which I liked. Very simple, very easy. Screen to Gunnar Helm. Anybody could have thrown that ball. But he went to shit after that intentional grounding, which is just completely unacceptable. Completely unacceptable for a second-year quarterback. George in Murfreesboro says, Cam sucks. Like, I legitimately think he's worse than San Francisco's third-string quarterback. Cam might be a backup. Again, if you just look at it, I kind of wonder how everybody truly feels about this. You guys tell me if this is a point that is unfair. Because I'm probably going to put this video out there on social media. And when I put this video out there, you know how people are. They get all worked up. I don't think you could have watched today's game and thought that Cam Ward is a better quarterback than Curtis Rourke. Now, this is just straight box score. To say Cam was 5 of 12 for 57 yards. That's 4.8 yards a throw. Rourke was 12 of 14 for 101, which is 7.2 yards per throw. The number you want to get to is 7 yards per attempt. He was 7.2. Rourke was 96.7 as far as his rating was concerned. Cam was 56.6. So statistically, it wasn't very close. When you factor in, Cam is throwing to Carnell Tate, Calvin Ridley, Wan'Dale Robinson, his entire starting group with his entire starting offensive line out there against backups from San Francisco, whereas Rourke is playing with backups and Deshaun Stribling, who I think is going to be a starting receiver for San Francisco, and all backups, and he's playing against Jeffrey Simmons. And there was Simmons, there was Cedric Gray, there was Amani Hooker, there was so he played against better players, and he played with backups, and he was better than Cam. And I just don't know what to make of that, because I know someone's going to tell me, well, Jared, that's not fair. It's just a preseason. I know, but football's football. I kept making a big deal about this when people kept telling me, Cam's a winner, Jared, you'll see. Cam is a winner. And I kept saying, he didn't win at Miami. They didn't make the playoffs. They didn't win the ACC. They didn't make the ACC championship game. They didn't any of that. Curtis Rourke went to the playoffs at Indiana, which I know Fernando Mendoza won a title, but that is more than not making the ACC championship game and going to the Pop-Tarts Bowl. Will Levis just got sacked again, setting up a 3rd and 19. He got up with just some horrific body language. I mean, horrific. He doesn't even want to be out there after watching that. One person says Tate looked unexpectedly slow. I don't know if I'd say that. We do have a bunch of this. Cam is a bust. Again, it was completely irresponsible when I said it, but BMW says, I don't even care about Cam. I do. Why did they sign a bunch of losing defensive players? Boy, a lot of people are mad at Cordell Flott. Cedric from the Borough, I really wanted Cam to be the guy, but it's just the first preseason game, but he's got to work on his accuracy. I don't think that kind of accuracy is something you teach. I don't think Cam Ward, and I know Josh Allen's kind of the unicorn out there, and Brian Dable was his coach, and I get that. But I don't think you all of a sudden, I think Mike Vrabel was asked about coaching accuracy, and Vrabel said that he was asked about it last year with Drake May and Drake May's accuracy, and he said, and I actually thought it was kind of funny, the way that Vrabel said it. But he was like, I mean, I don't think somebody tells Greg Maddux, how to throw the ball the way he throws it. I don't think you coach Drew Brees into being as accurate as Drew Brees is. I think Drew Brees just happens to be really, really accurate. And I say all that because I don't think that this idea that, hey, this was concerning tonight, Cam needs to get into the lab and work on that accuracy. I'm like, I don't think that's a thing. Like, I mean, can it improve a little bit? Sure. Is it going to improve between now and the Jets game to a point that it's not going to be a problem? That I have a hard time landing on, for whatever that is worth. Andy says Flott is this year's L'Jarius Sneed. L'Jarius Sneed was just a straight cash grab. I'm not convinced that Cordell Flott was ever any good. But I think what Mike Borgonzi does, I think a lot of these general managers are lazy. And I'm not saying Borgonzi's lazy, but I think he's too reliant on the coach. He comes from Kansas City where the coach is the general manager. And when you come from a place where the coach is the general manager, no matter what you do, you're going to treat the coach like he's the general manager. And so I think that's part of the problem here. And I think Brian Dable, a guy he knows from Kansas City, convinced him to go sign Cordell Flott. They overpaid him, and I think Cordell Flott fucking stinks. I do laugh about how everybody is sitting there talking about how, like, Cordell Flott. But some person was like, Borgonzi shouldn't be allowed to sign free agents. And I'm like, well, if you don't want your general manager signing free agents, he should be fired. George in Murfreesboro says Borgonzi will be fired, calling it. I think Borgonzi's on the hot seat. And you want to know what's crazy? Cam was so bad tonight that I don't know how Amy is going to react. And what I mean by that is this. When you make the playoffs 3 years in a row and you go to an AFC championship game and you have the number 1 seed and you do the things they did, they won the division back-to-back years. They were in first place at 7-5, and you get so embarrassed by A.J. Brown spanking the goalpost that you fire the general manager, just haul off in the middle of the season, don't even wait until the end of the year, and you fire the general manager on a Tuesday. That means that you are not stable. When you fire the coach and the president of football operations and the general manager is trying to get you to not fire the coach, and you do, that tells me you are reactive. When you promote a guy into president of football operations and you put him in charge of everything football, and less than a year later you boot him out the door, that is not a stable foundation for an organization, which means Amy is incredibly reactive and she flies off the fucking handle, and we all know it. Cam was so bad tonight, and they have invested so much in Cam, and they have hyped up Cam so much. And I think they're struggling to sell PSLs because I just saw them do an ad during the game where they said, get a 100 level PSL and get field passes to a game this year. That tells me they're probably not selling them as well as they have told everybody they're selling them. I think it would be crazy for the owner to fly off the handle and do something crazy after the first preseason game. But I think this owner has proven she does the unthinkable. So I don't know how worked up she'd be watching today's game knowing how bad Cam was. I'd say keep that in mind. James says, quick question, Jared. How are the Titans going to sell out the new stadium with this hot garbage next year? Come get your tickets to see Mac Jones, guys. Woof. I mean, I love how Suss came on the show, and he was like, it wasn't that bad of a scrimmage. I think it's probably the defense really struggled, but, I think that it was kind of overrated as far as, how bad the offense may have struggled. And I said, give me a score of what that game would have been. And he originally said 31-13. 31-13. I'm like, that is a blowout. Ugh. One person says, I'd take Mac Jones in a heartbeat. I would too. When I said Mac Jones, like, 3 months ago in OTAs, everyone was like, Mac Jones. Right now, Curtis Rourke doesn't look that bad. Okay, we put the poll up at the beginning of the program, and this will carry on into tomorrow. But I said, what grade does Cam Ward get for his performance tonight? I excluded B because there's no way he was a B, and I only have 4 options. A, C, D, and F. And I got to give it to you guys. You guys really have leaned in. 3.8% of the people say 3.8, say A. So only real assholes that want to be like, I want to fuck up his poll, voted A. 71, or I guess 72.1% of you said D or F. 40.6 said D, 31.5 said F, 24% said C. Now, I bet you this time tomorrow, that'll have flopped. So the D's will be C's and the F's will be D's. And I don't think there will be any more A's because I don't know how you could have watched that and said, give it an A. But there you go. Guys, thank you for being with us. This is kind of serve as our Friday show. I'll be on Sirius XM tomorrow morning starting at 8 a.m. I'll be on from 8 to 11, where I'm sure we'll talk more Jaden Daniels and everything else. I do think I will talk a segment about Cam Ward tomorrow on Sirius XM, but who knows? But that's going to do it for us. We are out of here. Stillman & Company. Like and subscribe. Tell your friends. And thank you so much for being a part of this stream tonight. Stillman & Company, part of the 440 Sports Network.